My marriage to Jenna began with love and simplicity. We built our lives in a cozy home, filled with shared breakfasts and laughter. Life felt steady, manageable, even during the busy weeks when we juggled careers, errands, and social obligations. Yet, that stability started to waver one seemingly ordinary morning over breakfast. As I enjoyed an omelet, Jenna's question struck me like a lightning bolt. "Do you ever regret marrying me instead of Madison?" Madison, Jenna's younger sister, was the polar opposite of my wife. Vibrant and free-spirited, she had recently moved to Los Angeles to chase her dream of becoming an influencer. Her effortless charm and growing success made her the golden child of the family. Jenna's comparison of herself to Madison wasn't new, but hearing it so bluntly set off a chain of events I never saw coming. What started as insecurity spiraled into jealousy, obsession, and ultimately, betrayal that tore our lives apart. At first, I thought Jenna's feelings of inadequacy would pass with reassurance. I reminded her of the reasons I chose her warmth, her intelligence, her grounded presence. But over time, her subtle remarks about Madison grew sharper. Comments turned to critiques into resentment. This bitterness festered, infecting our marriage and threatening the fragile bond she had with her sister. I didn't realize it then, but that breakfast conversation was the first crack in the foundation of everything I thought I knew about Jenna and about us. As the weeks went on, Jenna's bitterness toward Madison became impossible to ignore. It wasn't just the occasional eye roll at her sister's Instagram posts or a sarcastic remark about her trendy outfits. The resentment deepened with every family visit, every conversation, every reminder of Madison's growing success. What I thought might be fleeting jealousy turned into a storm cloud hanging over our lives. When we visited Jenna's parents for Memorial Day, her hostility became overt. Madison was radiant as ever, chatting animatedly about her engagement to Ethan, her boyfriend of over a year. Ethan seemed like a great match for her, steady, kind, and supportive. But instead of being happy for her sister, Jenna seethed. She muttered under her breath, rolled her eyes, and dismissed Madison's excitement with clipped, biting remarks. I tried to reason with Jenna on the drive home. "Why are you so hard on Madison?" I asked carefully, keeping my tone neutral. Jenna denied everything, brushing off her comments as harmless. But the truth was clear, her jealousy was no longer just an undercurrent, it was a tidal wave that threatened to drown everyone in its path. Things took a darker turn a few weeks later when Madison and Ethan announced their engagement. While the rest of the family celebrated, Jenna's resentment boiled over. At a dinner meant to toast the happy couple, she barely spoke, her answers cold and curt. Her disdain was palpable, especially as Ethan doted on Madison with heartfelt compliments. On the ride home, Jenna exploded. "They're so fake. All this perfect couple nonsense makes me sick," she spat, her voice sharp with anger. Her words stunned me. I knew then that Jenna wasn't just jealous, she was consumed by envy, unable to separate her insecurities from Madison's happiness. I tried to confront her about it, but she deflected with even more venom. The woman I had married, once so warm and loving, was slipping further into bitterness and spite. I couldn't understand what had changed so drastically, or why she couldn't let it go. Her fixation soon took a secretive turn. One evening in early June, I came home from work to find the house unusually quiet. Jenna's car was gone, and she hadn't mentioned plans to go out. When I checked the home security app, I saw that she'd left hours earlier. Over the next few weeks, this pattern repeated. Unexplained absences, vague excuses about meeting Madison, and a growing unease in my gut. Something didn't add up. I decided to reach out to Madison directly, casually asking if she and Jenna had been spending time together. Her answer shocked me. "No, I haven't seen her in weeks." My suspicions deepened. What was Jenna doing during these absences, and why was she lying about it? I started to fear that her jealousy wasn't just simmering in private anymore, it was driving her to take action, though I didn't yet know how far she was willing to go. Then came the night everything unraveled. I walked into our bedroom to find Jenna frantically packing a suitcase. Her movements were wild, her expression panicked. Before I could ask what was going on, my phone buzzed in my pocket. Madison's name flashed on the screen. When I answered, her voice was a broken sob. "Ethan cheated on me," she cried, "with Jenna." The words hit me like a blow to the chest. I felt the air leave my lungs as Madison explained, through tears, how Ethan had confessed to multiple encounters with Jenna over the past few weeks. My mind raced, trying to reconcile this betrayal with the woman I thought I knew. Jenna's absences, her hostility, her obsession with Madison, it all made sense now, in the worst possible way. I confronted Jenna immediately, my voice shaking with anger and disbelief. How could you do this? To me? To your own sister? Her response was as venomous as it was deflective. Don't act so innocent, she snarled. I've seen the way you look at Madison. Maybe I was just giving you what you've always wanted. Her words stunned me into silence. This wasn't just jealousy or insecurity, it was something far more twisted. Jenna had let her envy consume her completely, to the point of sabotaging her own sister's happiness. In that moment, I realized there was no saving our marriage. Whatever love we had once shared was buried beneath layers of resentment, betrayal, and irreparable damage. Jenna zipped up her suitcase with finality. I want a divorce, she declared coldly. Then, without another word, she walked out the door, leaving me standing in the wreckage of our life together. As her footsteps faded down the hall, I sank onto the bed, the weight of her betrayal crashing down on me. Madison was still on the phone, her sobs echoing through the speaker. I felt like a man adrift, lost in a storm I never saw coming. In the days following Jenna's departure, the gravity of her actions truly set in. Madison had called off her engagement to Ethan immediately, severing all ties with him. She was devastated, struggling to process not only his betrayal but also the fact that her own sister had been part of it. Our family was fractured, the trust between us irreparably damaged. I did what I could to support Madison, but her heartbreak ran deep. As for Jenna, she wasn't content to simply walk away. Her anger and bitterness didn't fade, if anything, they intensified. At first, she oscillated between blaming me for the divorce and begging me to reconsider. One moment, she would scream at me over the phone, accusing me of ruining her life. The next, she'd be crying, pleading for forgiveness. Each call was emotionally draining, and I found myself dreading every unknown number on my screen. When Jenna realized her attempts to win me back were futile, her behavior turned vindictive. She began stalking my social media, leaving spiteful comments on photos, especially if they featured women. One night, she showed up outside my apartment, banging on the door and accusing me of having an affair with Madison. Her obsession had become unhinged. For Madison, the fallout was equally distressing. Jenna's jealousy had turned into outright paranoia. Madison called me one evening, her voice shaking, to say she'd seen Jenna parked outside her building. What is she trying to prove? She asked, fear lacing her words. I didn't have an answer, but I knew something had to be done. I consulted an attorney and filed for a restraining order against Jenna, hoping it would force her to keep her distance. Even with the legal barrier in place, Jenna's erratic behavior continued. One Friday night, I returned home to find her sitting on my doorstep, mascara streaked down her face. She was drunk, slurring accusations that I had betrayed her with Madison. Her words were nonsensical, but her presence was unsettling. I called the police, who escorted her away with a stern warning. It was the last straw. For both Madison's safety and my own peace of mind, I decided to sever all ties with Jenna permanently. Through it all, Madison and I leaned on each other for support. We'd always had a good relationship, but this shared trauma brought us closer in ways neither of us expected. We spent hours talking, not just about Jenna and Ethan, but about our own lives, dreams, and struggles. I found solace in her company, a calm amidst the chaos Jenna had left behind. One evening, after months of tension and turmoil, Madison and I sat together on my couch, sharing a bottle of wine. The conversation turned reflective as we talked about how far we'd come since Jenna's betrayal. It's strange, Madison said softly. I feel like losing Ethan and Jenna should have left me broken. But instead, I feel free. Her words resonated with me. Jenna's jealousy and manipulation had overshadowed so much of my life, clouding my sense of self. Now, with that weight lifted, I felt a clarity I hadn't experienced in years. Madison looked at me then, her eyes bright and sincere. I'm glad we have each other, she said. And for the first time in months, I felt a flicker of hope. In the aftermath of everything, I found myself navigating a life that felt both foreign and refreshing. Jenna's departure marked the end of a tumultuous chapter, one filled with bitterness and betrayal. While the pain of her actions lingered, I was determined not to let it define me. I poured my energy into rebuilding, a healthier, freer version of myself. Madison played an unexpected but vital role in my healing. Our shared experiences brought us closer, and we leaned on each other as we pieced our lives back together. Over time, our bond evolved into something deeper, though neither of us rushed it. There was a comfort in her presence, a sense of ease that had been absent in my marriage. The turning point came during a weekend trip to the beach. As we strolled along the shore, the waves lapping gently at our feet, Madison looked at me and smiled. "It's funny," she said. "For so long, I felt like Jenna's shadow. But now, I feel like I'm finally stepping into my own light." Her words stayed with me. Madison had been a constant reminder of resilience and grace, even in the face of betrayal. And as we spent more time together, I realized how much I admired her strength and compassion. What started as friendship had blossomed into something neither of us expected but couldn't deny. Our relationship was not without its challenges. The shadow of Jenna's actions loomed over us, and we took care to proceed cautiously, not wanting to add fuel to her paranoia. But as months turned into a year, we grew more confident in our connection. It wasn't about replacing the past but building something new, something genuine. Looking back, I see how Jenna's jealousy and insecurity consumed her, ultimately leading to her downfall. But I also see how that pain became a catalyst for growth, for both Madison and me. The scars of betrayal are real, but they no longer define us. Together, we've found a way to heal, to move forward, and to embrace a future filled with hope. If you enjoyed this story or found it thought-provoking, subscribe to my YouTube channel for more stories like this, stories that explore the complexities of relationships and the resilience of the human spirit.